Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Malefic deck profile. So I'm super excited for this one because you guys have been requesting this one like on every single video asking me to do a Malefic deck profile. And I am glad to say I finally got my one Malefic territory in the mail. Because if you guys haven't seen my dual overload case opening, I pulled everything in the case, or pulled everything in the set except for 5 cards and a single card, a single Malefic territory, which I had to order for like 9 cents off of TCG Player, which was really funny. But without further ado, guys, let's get straight on this. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out down in the description where we have the Patreon and the Ko-Fi, because on the Patreon we have some really cool rewards for you guys, like getting a signed card, getting to have your name in every single description of every single DarkArmedDuelist video, and getting to request deck profiles of your choice monthly. So let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Malefic Cyber End Dragon. So this card is a 4,000 attack point monster. All the monsters that are Malefic monsters share the stats of their original counterparts, which is kind of cool. They do that and have the original stats. But basically, all the Malefic monsters share this ability that they can't attack, they can't be normal summoned or set, and they must be special summoned except by removing from play one of the monsters that they originally were. Like, for instance, Malefic Cyber End Dragon makes you remove from play a Malefic or a regular Cyber End Dragon from your extra deck. And there can only be one face-up Malefic monster on the field, other than other monsters you control cannot declare attacks, and if there is no face-up field spell on the field, you destroy this card. But the really cool thing is we have a card in the deck that bypasses that ability to make it where you can only control one of each named Malefic instead of only controlling one Malefic. And it also bypasses the ability where they can't attack as well. So that's a really cool thing about the Malefic cards with the new support. Then we play a single copy of Malefic Rainbow Dragon. Now I really like these. I just play a single copy of Malefic Rainbow Dragon because you don't have as much freedom with like Blue Eyes and Rainbow Dragon because you have to banish them from the hand or your deck, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Basically, this one has the same exact effect as your Malefic Cyber End, except you have to banish a Rainbow Dragon from your deck instead of banishing a copy of your Rainbow Dragon from the extra deck. You can't banish from the extra deck because it's a main deck monster. Then we play 3 copies of Malefic Stardust Dragon, which I've been playing in different decks for years, like Dark Worlds and stuff like that, just to protect my field spells, because this one is the only Malefic monster that actually has an effect. That's a boss dragon monster. I really like that they actually did new support for this deck for the movie for like Paradox, which is really cool. But this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card must be special summoned by removing play a Stardust Dragon from your extra deck, and there can only be one face-up Malefic monster on the field. And then field spell cards cannot be destroyed by card effects, and other monsters you control cannot declare attacks, and if there's no face-up field spell, you destroy this card. Then we play just 2 copies of the Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon. You really only need 2 copies of it because 2 is plenty of this card in any given number, because you have so many different search cards in this deck that I'm playing that you just need the 2 copies of it. It has you just banish a Blue Eyes from your hand or from your deck. To special summon this card, and there can only be one face-up Malefic monster on the field, and it shares the same abilities like that. Then we play a single copy of Blue Eyes White Dragon so we can banish it from the deck to be able to get our Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragons out on the field. And then we play a single copy of Rainbow Dragon as well to banish it for the copy of Malefic Rainbow Dragon. So that's our 2 like vanilla garnets, I guess, if you will, for the deck. Then we're playing 3 of the new copy of Malefic Paradox Gear. Malefic Paradox Gear is a super cool card that if there's a face-up field spell on the field, you can tribute this card to special summon a Malefic Parallel Gear from your deck, and then add a Malefic monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Paradox Gear. And if a Malefic monster would banish a monster to special summon itself by its own effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead of banishing the other card. So like, if this is in your graveyard after you've treated it while you have Malefic World on the field, you can just instantly banish this instead of sending like Rainbow Dragon or Blue Eyes to the graveyard. But you usually want to send them to the graveyard. You might not want to send like a copy of your Stardust or a copy of your Cyber End. You might not want to send those because you want to keep an extra copy in the extra deck. But basically, this card's really good because it makes it so you don't have to pay the cost. It just banishes itself. Then we play 3 copies of Malefic Parallel Gear. Parallel Gear is one of the best cards in the entire deck because what it does is such a good effect that When this card is synchro summoned, or when this card is used as synchro material, the other synchro material is one monster in your hand, one Malefic monster in your hand. So we have a lot of access to a lot of different level 10 synchros and level 12 synchro monsters that we can actually go into, because it doesn't specify that it has to be a Malefic monster that you synchro summon, which is really neat. Then I have a little, like, sub-engine that I play in this deck that I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to get you guys to guess this. It's 5 monster cards. They are 3 and 2 of the same, so that's something that you guys can guess down below. We're going to play Guess That Card, so guess down below. And I really like how I have these metallic sleeves for this deck profile, because you have the black on one side and the gold on the other, which is kind of like Malefic's with the white and black, which is kind of cool. You got to be fashionable when you have your decks. So comment down below, tell me what you think these cards are, and I'm going to reveal them in 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys, and hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad. So the cards that we're going to be playing is going to be something that I really think is going to be a tech card in a lot of decks coming up in the next format. Is going to be 3 copies of Righty Driver and 2 copies of Lefty Driver. So the reason I'm playing these is because in this deck you don't have that many normal summons. Like, you're going to normal summon these and you might normal summon these, but all of your Malefic monsters special summon themselves. And this deck can easily crank out 20,000 damage, like, easy. 15,000 is nothing for this deck. 20,000, you might be stretching it just a little bit, but you can do it. But basically what these do is if you normal summon the Righty Driver, you get special summon the Lefty Driver from your deck. It's just that simple. And the Lefty Driver becomes a level 3, which basically lets you link summon for your copy of the Crystron monster, the Crystron Link monster, the Needle Fiber, so you can just instantly link for that and then special summon a copy of your Malefic gear from your deck, and then synchro summon for like a copy of your Malefic Truth Dragon or a copy of your Draco Corrupted Nether Soul Dragon. You can synchro for that too. Which is a really cool way to go about this deck, that you can actually synchro summon for either one of those by just using a copy of your Stardust, your Blue Eyes in your hand, and going for one of those big plays. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing just a single copy of Malefic Divide. Essentially, this is Monster Reborn for your Malefic monsters, but it ignores their summoning conditions and it destroys them during end phase. 1 copy of Malefic Selector. Both of these are searchable, and so that's why we just play them at 1 by Malefic World, because you can reveal them and then add them to your hand. Malefic Selectors are an interesting one. I like it, but you just want one of it because it's a good later game card. You banish 2 Malefic monsters or Malefic cards from your graveyard, and you get to add 2 Malefic cards from your deck to your hand that are different names, which is good, but I don't ever really feel like you're going to have, like, by the time you get to that point, you're going to win. So it's just good as like a recovery card. We just play 2 copies of Malefic World because you don't want to break with having 3. And you can get to it so easy in this deck that you just 2 is plenty in this deck at any given time. It's a really neat field spell that when it's face up on the field, you can activate this effect. Instead of drawing, you reveal 3 Malefic cards in your deck, and your opponent picks one of them and then at random, and then you shuffle the rest back into the deck, which is how you get Divide and your Selector. You just reveal them and then you get them to your hand by adding them off of the Malefic World, which is kind of cool. We play 3 copies of Malefic Territory, which is the only reason this deck even really works. Like, Malefic Territory makes this deck crazy good because they made these monsters have too big of a restriction where you can only control one of them and then they can only attack if you controlled one of them. But this card fixes all those issues. Basically what this card does is when it's activated, you get to activate a Malefic World directly from your deck. And then one of those cards is in your field spell zone. Neither player can target a card in the field spell zone with card effects. So that makes your Malefic World completely untargetable, which is really cool. And then it also has the effect of the Malefic monsters effect of there can only be 1 face-up Malefic monster on the field becomes there can only be 1 face-up Malefic monster on the field with the same name. So like I can have, with the territory on the field, I can have a Rainbow Dragon and I can have a Malefic Cyber End, which is like 8,000 damage right off the bat. And then you can overlay with them. And then during the battle phase, you negate the effect of the Malefic monsters on the field, so like you can attack with all of them instead of just one of them, which is cool. Then we play 2 copies of Melody of Awakening Dragons, which we can search our Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragons and our copy of Malefic Rainbow Dragon with these, which is super cool. I wanted to play it at 3, but the deck is really tight, so I just played them at 2. We played 3 copies of Machine Duplication. Machine Duplication is really good in this deck because you play so many different targets for this. You play the Righty Driver and the Lefty Driver. You play the Malefic Paradox gear and the Malefic Parallel gear, which are both 0s attack points, which is super cool to be able to just special summon them out. And then you play the righty driver, which can get you essentially a link 4 out on the field with the greatest of ease, because all you have to do is have the righty driver on the field, activate your machine duplication. When you normal summon it, you special summon the lefty driver, and then you end up with a field that looks kind of like this. You end up with all 4 of these monsters, which thins the deck a lot, and you can just special summon them directly out of the deck, which is neat, and I really like that ability. Then, if you haven't noticed, all the Malefic monsters are dark, so we're actually going to be playing 3 copies of Allure of Darkness, which just basically says draw 2, banish a monster, which is not that big of a deal for us, because if you end up banishing something like one of your gears, it's not a super big deal, or a copy of Malefic Stardust, because you only have one of each name, and you're searching them with your Melody of Awakening Dragon, so you're always going to have something that you're not really worried about banishing. Then we play 3 copies of Trade-In, which we play 6 targets in the entire deck, with 3 copies of the Blue Eyes White Dragon from the Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon, your regular Blue Eyes White Dragon, and your Malefic Stardust to be able to dig deeper in the deck, because what you're mainly trying to get to is your Malefic territory as quickly as possible, so you can get Malefic World, and then go from there, which is how the deck even functions, so you have to get to Malefic territory as quickly as possible. If you don't, you're going to either get into your copy of Malefic Selector, which is going to end up getting you to the Malefic territory, but that is really pivotal that you get to that. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. That's actually it for the entire main deck. We don't play any traps. I don't play Malefic Tune. I don't feel like you need it. It's a little slow for me, and this deck is all about swarming, which is what it does best. So, for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of the Malefic Paradox Dragon. You only need 1 copy of it. When it's Synchro Summon, you can select a Synchro monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. And then there can only be 1 face of Malefic Paradox Dragon on the field. And if Malefic World is not on the field, destroy this card. It's a 4K beat stick that you can make really easily, and it's a really good card. 1 copy of the Corrupted Nether Soul Dragon. This card's really cool in the deck. Basically, it can't be destroyed by battle, and who's going to attack a 4,000 attack point beat stick besides Utopia Double? But when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, this card can make its 2nd attack in a row on an opponent's monster, and then during your standby phase, you can target a monster your opponent controls, and at half its attack, and if you do, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack that monster lost, which is cool. We play a Yugioh Math Mech Final Sigma. The Final Sigma is really easy to synchro into, because all you use is a level 10 in the Tune gear, or not Tune gear, but the Malefic Parallel gear to go into this card. It's unaffected by monster effects except your Math Mech monsters while it's in the extra monster zone, which you're always going to put this card in the extra monster zone, and it inflicts double damage to your opponent if it battles an opponent's monster while it's in the extra monster zone, which is really cool. I really like that effect. For the Stardust Dragons, we're playing just 2 copies of it. You don't need more than 2, really. And plus, it clogs up the extra deck if you play any more than 2. You're never going to summon it 3 times anyways. And plus, you have the Malefic Paradox gear that you can banish from the graveyard instead of banishing another card. So 2 copies is plenty of this card. We played 2 copies of Cyber End Dragon as well. Again, you really only need 2 copies of this card, because you're only ever going to summon the card maybe twice. So it's plenty to play just 2. For the rest of the extra deck, we're going to be playing a Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax for the Machine Dupe combo, where you just activate Machine Dupe. You go for this card after you go for the Chris Turon Needle Fiber and the Nightmare Phoenix. You just banish a card, or you discard a card, pop a spell or trap, make this card as well, and then go off from there. You always make this card first, and then make this card under it, discard a card, pop something on the field, and then link these 2 together for the Crusadia Avermax, which is really cool. Since we do play lefty and righty driver, and since we have level 1 monsters in the deck, I thought this would be a really cool card to kind of clear the way. The Relinquish Enema is really cool because you can target a card your opponent controls and then equip it to this card that it points to. So you just make it in the position 2 or 4 if your opponent puts a monster there. You link it away with one of your, the parallel gear, your level 1 monster that you play in the deck, which is the Paradox gear, and then you immediately just summon this, or a righty driver. It depends on which one you have on the field. You link it away to summon this. Then we play a small train engine, which is just the Juggernaut Libby and a copy of the Gustav Max, which burns your opponent for 2,000, then you can attack for 6,000, which is kind of neat. I don't play number 81. I don't feel like you need it because you already have really big monsters, and it's not that important to me. 1 copy of number 38, Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy. If you feel like you're running into people running like MST, Twin Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, stuff that's getting rid of your back row and stuff like that, like your territories and stuff, this card's really good to stop that. You can change it out for Dingritsu if you want to change it out for Dingritsu. Orcust XYZ monster, it's entirely up to you, but you can make it really easily. And then for the final XYZ monster I play, it is a single copy of number 35, Ravenous Tarantula. Basically, all monsters you control, this card gets the maximum amount of damage on the field. Basically, this card makes all your monsters gain attack equal to the difference between your attack points, or your life points, and your opponent's life points, which is really cool, and I really like that ability. And it also has the ability that every time your opponent special summons a monster, they lose 600 life points, which is really cool. So it just makes that gap bigger and bigger and bigger, which is really, really neat. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a super cool, super fun deck. Cards that you could put in here besides, or extra cards that you could put in here, you could put Skill Drain if you wanted to put Skill Drain in here. I don't feel like I need it because I play the copy of the Territory. I feel like Territory is plenty to deal with what I need to, and you have so much draw power in here to get into it. It's just, the deck is perfect as it is. So that's it for the Malefic deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was worth the wait for you guys, because I know you guys have been waiting on this one for a little bit, and I hope you really enjoyed this deck, because this deck is super cool, and I highly recommend that you give it a try. It's not crazy expensive to my knowledge. I haven't looked up Malefic Cyber Dragon. I know that card used to be like $10 each, but I anticipate they'll probably be reprinting some of the cards very soon. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad. Definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.